Thank you for your interest in the Loftness GrainLogix System, the finest grain bag loading system in North America. Be sure to read and understand the operator's manual before operating your GBL. This program does not substitute for the operator's manual. Observe and follow all safety information and safety decals in the owner's manual and on the machine before operating the equipment. Incorrect operation is dangerous and may damage the machine, voiding the warranty. Please also read and understand the grain bagging tips brochure before operating your GBL. When choosing the site to set up your GBL, make sure that the site has firm ground, is level, and well drained. Plan to fill the bag in a north and south direction, with the bagging proceeding up the slope if the terrain is not level. Place a string marker at the starting edge where the bagger is going to start, and stretch it along the side of the tractor to the full length of the bag. Please note that installing the grain bag will require a 2-person or 3-person crew, depending on experience. For proper installation of the grain bag, first release the grain loading cradle latch. Next, rotate and lower the cradle into the loading position. Release the bungee cord on both sides, then slide it forward out of the way while loading the bag. With the cradle in the proper loading position, release the latch on the bag tray winch and rotate the handle to fully lower the bag tray. Next, place the grain bag adjacent to the bag loading cradle. Make sure that the white folds of the bag are facing forward. Note, it is important that you cut only the blue tie straps holding the bag. Carefully unfold the grain bag enough to place it on the lift cradle. Do not cut the white ties before loading the bag onto the tunnel. Place the top white tied folds of the grain bag onto the bag lift cradle. Raise the bag cradle lift to the top of the grain bag loader tunnel using either the switch mounted on the winch, the tethered controller, or the wireless remote control option if available. Slide the bag fully onto the tunnel, using the white ties to move the bag folds. Place the bottom of the grain bag into the bag tray and around the bottom corners of the tunnel, sliding the grain bag fully into the bag tray until it contacts with the back of the tray. Raise the bag pan until there is approximately 1.5 inches, 2 finger widths, of space between the bag pan and the bottom side of the bag loader tunnel. Note, with the bag fully in the bag pan and the pan raised to within 1.5 inches of the tunnel frame, move to the center of the front side of the pan and grab the white bag tie straps and lift up on the middle of the bag, pulling any slack in the bag towards the middle and away from the corners of the tunnel. It is also important to note that the space between the bag pan and the grain bag loader tunnel must be the same distance from side to side for the grain bag to unfold correctly during bagging operation. Adjust the bag pan cables if needed. Remember, it is important to ensure that the rubber flap covering the opening to the bag pan hangs outside the pan. Note that the rubber flap helps keep the grain from flowing back into the unused portion of the grain bag. Cut all white ties securing the bag fold. Pull the top layer of the bag out and to the rear, approximately 3 feet. Secure the bungee cord on the loosest setting. Lower the grain bag lift cradle and return it to the locked storage position. Note that the bungee cord will be placed over only the single layer of bag on the tunnel. The tether rope should be adjusted to uniform lengths so that the bungee cord is secured and positions the bungee cord 3 inches behind the bag and only one layer of the bag is underneath the bungee cord. Pull approximately 10 to 13 feet of the top fold of the grain bag from the bag loader under the bungee cord. Align the bag ends. Place a 12-foot long 2x4 board underneath the folded end of the bag, approximately 12 to 18 inches from the end of the bag. Next, place another board of the same size on the top of the end of the folded bag. Fold in the outer edges, starting the fold approximately 3 feet from the end of the bag, and then fold about 2 feet of the bag towards the center of the bag on each side. When you are finished folding the bag on both ends, the bag should be slightly less than 12 feet wide. Folding the bag will make it easier to create a tight end seal. When the folded end of the grain bag is securely positioned between the two boards, fasten the boards together using 3-inch deck screws. Then roll the sealed end downward a minimum of 2 times around the boards. Then, fold the sealed end of the bag about 3 feet under the bag. Secure the bag sealing boards under the bag. As the grain bag is being filled, the weight of the grain will provide downward pressure on the bag seal, which helps to secure the seal under the bag and prevent moisture from entering the grain bag. Adjust the tension of the bungee cord very tight by hooking the bungee anchor to the furthest in hole on the bottom of the bag pan. During the loading process, the operator of the tractor is required to remain in the operator's position at all times to start and stop the PTO shaft and keep the tractor and grain loader moving in a straight line with the grain bag. Position a person alongside the grain bag loader on the side away from the grain cart of the combine in order to monitor the filling of the grain bag. This will place them in the proper position to increase or decrease the grain bag loader brake pressure in order to properly fill the bag and remove all wrinkles in the bag as it fills. The grain truck or cart operator is required to remain in the operator's position at all times during the loading process to move the grain truck or cart and monitor when the unit is empty. Make sure that the tractor and grain bag loader are lined up with the guide string. Next, move the grain cart or combine into position alongside the grain bag loader. Extend the grain cart or combine auger and center it above the hopper of the grain bag loader. With the operator of the tractor in the operator's position, engage the PTO. Gradually increase the PTO speed to 540 RPM. Note, the tractor must be in neutral and the parking brake released before grain is flowing into the bagger. Now you are ready to signal the grain cart or combine operator to start the flow of grain from the auger into the hopper of the grain bag loader. As the grain begins to flow into the grain bag, check the bag seal to ensure that it remains underneath the bag and that the grain is flowing to the end of the bag, securing the seal. It is important to note that the objective when bagging is to just fill the bag to the point where no air pockets exist and wrinkles are out of the bag. Do not overfill the bag. If the bag is overfilled, it may become damaged and split open while unloading. Trying to squeeze extra grain into the bag beyond full will damage not only the bag but the grain as well. The overfilled bag has been weakened and can split open when unloading. Using the tractor's hydraulics, raise or lower the machine so that the bag pan height is 8 to 10 inches above the ground. This positions the bag high enough off the ground to allow all the wrinkles to smooth out of the bag as it fills. It's important to monitor the grain bag as it is filling by using the brake pressure wheel. Adjusting the brake pressure will help maintain proper filling of the grain bags, decreasing the chance of damage to the bag during the loading process. Turn the wheel clockwise to increase brake pressure. It is recommended that you start with no more than 200 psi brake pressure during approximately the first 500 bushels put into the bag. If more pressure is required to remove wrinkles from the bag, increase the pressure in increments of 100 psi until the ideal brake pressure is found for your conditions in order to evenly fill the bag. Normal operating pressure is 200 to 700 psi. Note, do not exceed 1200 psi. Doing so will cause damage to the brake calipers. The brake pressure required to fill the bag will vary based on different conditions such as wet or sandy ground, bagging up or down a slope, and even the type of grain being put into the bag. By turning the wheel counterclockwise, brake pressure is released. Note, before moving the grain bagger, turn the brake wheel counterclockwise fully to stop. Failure to rotate the brake wheel fully to the stop position will result in heating of the brakes and premature failure. A good method to ensure that you don't use too much of the bag is to place a piece of cardboard in the bag when starting. Place the cardboard 5 folds from the tunnel as an easy indicator for you to stop loading and indicate that the bag is now at the full length. It's important to note that when the bag is full, seal the bag as soon as possible in order to eliminate the chance of excess moisture entering the bag and damaging the grain. Leave approximately 10 to 13 feet, 5 folds, of empty bag to use for sealing. You won't need the entire 10 to 13 feet of unused bag for sealing, but it will be used later during the unloading process. Seal the grain bag with the same procedures used when starting a new grain bag. Once the grain bag is sealed, it is recommended that heavy items such as used tires be placed over the finished end to cover any loose parts of the bag end. QR codes for the Loftness website and the operator's manual are located on each piece of equipment for your convenience. If you have any questions about the Loftness GBL grain bagging system, please visit our website at loftness.com or call 800-828-7624.